Alright, I'm bored as frick. Litlow? Can you pull up YouTube? I want to see what some of my content creator friends are making right now. Let's see here. Some regular ranking videos. Invince did a Plants vs. Zombies, that's neat, I guess. Oh dang, Yalletter's Dustin ranked is getting a ton of views. I wonder if I should also do a Dustin ranking. Oh dang. Well, now that I think about it, remember last year? Well, me, Yallettter, and Neo all released a Step Right Up ranking close to each other. I think it'd be dust-tastic. Okay, fine. Hello everyone, I'm your host Kelpart, and welcome back to Ranked, the series where I rank stuff. Today on the chopping block, Friday Night Dustin. Oh boy, I'm excited to talk about this mod. Ever since my first playthrough, I've known that this mod was something special, and I've been dying to talk about it for months. And, since I needed a bit of a break from weekly, I decided, heck, why not, let's rank the mod. So that's what I'm doing today. Before getting into the ranking itself, a couple ground rules. Firstly, I would just like to remind everyone that my ranking system includes every aspect of a song, not just the music. However, the music is still the most important thing considered by a landslide. This has been a common problem with a lot of my previous videos where people think the art and charting are on the same level of importance as the music itself, when they are definitely not. I figured this video would be a good time to remind everyone of this, since I have a lot positive to say about the art, and a lot negative to say about the charting. Secondly, Dustin is one of those mods where actually figuring out what to rank is difficult. For the purposes of this video, I am only going to be covering the 21 bass songs in Dustin. That means no Red Diva No, since that's essentially just a remix of a song that isn't even from FNF, none of the scrapped songs since they don't have actual gameplay and aren't in their most complete form, and most importantly, no Final Hours versions. I know I was going to get a ton of comments about that if I didn't mention it, so no. I will mention most, if not all, of the changes in that build when we do get to their bass song, but for now, just know that none of them were factored into the ranking. Okay, with all that said, I believe I have said everything I need to say. After all that, we've still got a whopping 21 songs to get through today, so let's not waste any time and get started with... Number 21, Red Screen. Let me preface this entry by stating that there are no bad songs in Dustin. Everything in this video is B tier and above, so to some extent, I like each and every one of the songs I'm about to talk about. That said, for being the finale to the story mode content, Red Screen is honestly just kinda lame. Starting off with the vocals, Story Shift Kara just sounds kinda bored in this song. Granted, their entire personality in both the cutscene and the song itself does reflect this, so it's not really a problem with the song, but I just wish there was more anything in their vocals. Also, Azrael is here. Barely, but he's here, I guess. I'm sorry, but Azrael's vocals are just so quiet and nothing that he doesn't really add anything to the song. On the flip side, Senpai is here. I think making him be the boyfriend swap in the Story Shift universe is a really neat idea, and while I'm not the hugest fan of his chromatic, the fact that they were able to make an accurate sounding version of his vocals without bit crushing is a feat not many mods attempt. His transformation into Spirit is also one of the highlights of the song for me. It's a really great moment. To go along with this, a lot of both Roses and Thorns melodies are present in the song, which is something I love when mods do. But not this one for some reason! Yeah, let's talk about the melodies real quick. Like I said with Shift Kara's vocals, this song just lacks any kind of energy behind it. Most of the melodies are just incredibly unmemorable, and the ones that are just reused ones from the base game. Plus, not only have I just been fatigued by this point of hearing Roses and Thorns melodies in mods, but this song definitely relies a little too heavily on them as well. The instrumental is fine, but again, in comparison to the rest of Dustin, Red Screen stands no chance, which is such a shame. Story Shift is honestly one of my favorite AUs, and swapping Boyfriend with Senpai has some amazing potential. Unfortunately, instead of using this cool concept with other aspects of the song, such as Azrael getting a more prominent role, we got a song that, while still definitely good, Sort of feels like a footnote in the rest of story mode. That might be a little harsh, but I just have no strong feelings on this song in the slightest. The art is, like, phenomenal though. I'll try not to mention it in every single entry, but I generally think the quality of the art is just as high, if not higher, than the quality of the music in this mod, and Red Screen is one of the best examples of this. Senpai looks sick, the red lighting is great, overall just fantastic artwork. It's just that the song that goes along with this art lacks enough energy to really be all that great. Number 20, Uncreate. A lot of people that know me were probably expecting this to not only be in last place, but for me to absolutely tear into it for reasons I'll mention later. But no, Red Screen is definitely my least favorite of the mod. That being said, I hate Uncreate! This song is terrible and the worst thing ever made in this community since Verdant came out. There is no quality here, it is just unfiltered noise in my ears. Anyone who likes this song should subscribe to me because I have the objectively correct opinion. Okay, cool, enough yelling! Okay, now that I got that out of my system, Uncreate is actually pretty alright. Like, critically wise, I don't really have much to say about it. The instrumental is fine and fits the two characters, said two characters have good chromatics that are used well, and the melodies are perfectly okay. Hopping back to the vocals real quick, I really enjoy Errors. The glitchy bit-crushed sound along with some of the higher notes makes for both a satisfying sound and one that absolutely fits Error. Ink is definitely weaker, but again by no means bad. One of my main problems with this song is some of the tone shifts throughout. They're usually only for a couple turns, but I don't like them. It's such a drastic shift in the song, and I find myself preferring the main tone of the song much more than these shifts. This actually leads me into my second main problem. The dramatic section. Like, why is this here? Like, I get it, haha, funny Underverse reference, but seriously, why is this in the song? It's completely different from the more fast-paced and chaotic nature the rest of the song has. It's not transitioned into well in the slightest, and again, it just confuses me. It's honestly everything I don't like about Uncreate summed up into one section. So, tangent time. Fun fact for all of you, Underverse is absolutely my favorite thing in the Undertale community. Yes, that includes things like Undertale Yellow. I absolutely adore Underverse in every single way. So, when I heard that there was an Underverse reference in this mod, and it was a song between Ink and Error, who are some of my favorite AU characters by the way, obviously I was excited. I was thinking about maybe the iconic battle in Point 4, or their rematch where Fresh Ink appears, or anything close to that really. So, when it was just kind of a random match that has absolutely no ties to Underverse, suffice to say I was a little disappointed. And this random reference to the Underverse depiction of Ink just feels incredibly shoehorned in. There's no build-up, it's randomly thrown in the middle of the song, Ink doesn't stay emotionless after this, and even the entire art style of the song changes. It's such a weird inclusion of a section, and just makes me want a song that does Underverse more justice than this. That last remark was definitely harsh, but again, Underverse is one of my favorite things ever, so the song it represents in Dustin being one of the weakest of the mod just makes me really sad to see, honestly. Definitely a more biased view of a song for once, I will admit, but sometimes that can influence an opinion a lot. Wow, that was a lot of words for Uncreate. Let's move on before I waste all day talking about this one. Number 19, YOLO. TMG is currently rolling in his grave. Now then, speaking about Underverse, YOLO! If I had to describe this song with one word, it'd probably be neat. Fresh Sands is the main opponent of this song, and I think his chromatic is fine. The first half of the song uses a good chromatic, but his parasitic one has some funky effects on it that I don't think sound the best. The music taking a more groovy feel to it was definitely the way to go though, since that's what Fresh is all about. Again though, that second section with the Parasite drops that a bit, making for a weaker ending to the song. It's made up for by B3 Boyfriend being here though. Has the novelty of him being in the song worn off over time? Yeah, a bit. But also, B3 Boyfriend just has one of my favorite takes on a boyfriend chromatic ever, so it's still really fun to see. Just the entire idea of Fresh being in a B3 song fits so well, to be honest. It's just that, again, I really don't care for that second half of the song, and that's really the only reason this song is being held back so far. The instrumental dropping the more funky vibe, Fresh's vocals having some weird effects, the melodies just being more forgettable. I know it honestly sounds like they should be a lot lower, but I do still think the second half is far from bad. It's just that it could most certainly be a lot better. It doesn't help that this song is also just one of the most forgettable of the entire OST. Like, it's one of the shortest, it's in free play, it really doesn't add a lot to the mod, So, it being forgettable, both song-wise and placement-wise, yeah, YOLO's not looking too great. Still though, I really like this one. Number 18, Homicide. Welp, I bet a whole lot of you saw this one being low. Homicide is infamous in this mod for a couple reasons, but I'll start with what I like about the song. The feeling of unease between Sans and Papyrus here honestly might be my favorite part of the entire song. Swap Sans has a more fun tone to him, like he should, but you can still very much tell that he is concerned for what's happening. Papyrus also sounds great, having a more psychotic sound that fits the Dustin-like character he has. Specifically that opening melody, I really like how it conveys that emotion between both of them. The next couple of turns have some fun back and forth between Papyrus and Sans, nothing too special to note, but it all sounds really good. Then the flashback section. I like how it manages to slow down the song, for lack of a better term, but without killing the pacing of the song at all. The slow build-up of it too, Papyrus slowly killing everyone in time with the beat until transitioning back into the main tone of the song, it's all great stuff. I also like this part because the instrumental doesn't really matter, which might sound odd at first, but to be honest, the instrumental is probably the worst part of the song for me. It's not bad, but a lot of turns feel lacking since there isn't very much going on. Please note this comment for later. I do like the constant use of both Swap Sans and Papyrus' respective themes in the background. It's a really nice touch. Back to the song though, and the section after the flashback is pretty alright. The instrumental issue I talked about is definitely at its worst here, with some of the more fast-paced turns feeling a little messy, but it's an alright note to end the song on. All in all, Homicide is a... Wait, why is the song still going? Why is the song still going? Stop it now, this is where the song is supposed to end, the song's supposed to end, stop, the song is supposed to end! Yeah, so one thing to note about Homicide is that it was one of the 3 songs featured in the demo of Dustin, and I'd argue that it was the fan favorite of the 3. However, for the full release of the mod, some changes were made. What changes, you ask? Well, for one, Papyrus and Sans' chromatics were changed, which was a fine enough change done for a good enough reason. The song was pitched down a tiny bit, okay, a little odd, but the changes still aren't that bad. And then the song keeps going into one of, if not the worst section in all of Dustin. Okay, cool, that tanks the song, awesome. It is the most tragic thing too, because I honestly think the initial pixelized section at the start of the ending is pretty cool and sounds not bad. Unfortunately, the more simple instrumental is carried over, making there be so much less impact than this part could have had. Sans and especially Papyrus sound their absolute worst here. The melodies sung aren't even all that good or memorable, and what is this Sans sprite? I don't usually comment on art I don't like, but this Sans sprite just looks too weird not to mention. The definition of a song assassination. The rest of the song still carries Homicide to be a low A tier, but at the end of the day, this ending is just really disappointing to see. Number 17, Perseverance. Wow, the first song of the mod that was also in the demo is one of the weaker ones? No freaking way! But yeah, Perseverance is a really good song, who would have thunk? We've officially made it to the songs that I don't really have any issues with, or at the very least, the issues are far outweighed by all the positive things I have to say about the song. As for this song, I'll start with the main issue holding it back, that being the melodies. They're all definitely good, but I'd argue that this is the most egregious example of the mod using melodies from Undertale/Dusttale. And that is all because the main melody of this song is practically just the Dusttale Megalovania. It's definitely a little lame, not a bad decision, especially since this is the first song of the mod based on Dusttale, but I do wish that there was just a bit more originality in this song. The pacing is also a little janky. It's not enough to cause any form of whiplash, but the tempo is constantly speeding up and slowing down, which can lead to the pace feeling just a little weird. Each part is really well made though. I think now is a good time to talk about Sans' chromatic, since this is technically the first time it's been used in this list. So, in the base Dustin week, each chromatic is made through the voice actors. But on the first playthrough, I genuinely thought that Sans' chromatic was sampled from the Undertale text. It sounds so incredibly close to his text in-game that it's honestly scary. At the same time though, it also helps it sound better than pretty much every other Sans chromatic in this community, which is an impressive feat considering how many there are. And this isn't even close to the best use of them in the mod, although it is one of the most unique uses of them in the entire mod due to the pixel section. Is it a little weird that it's here? Yeah, but I like how it sounds, so screw all of you. Speaking of, this is the first time I have to mention the Final Hours version of a song. Yeah, I don't like Pico here at all. It sounds fine, but Pico being here instead of Sans not only makes no sense, but also just doesn't sound as good in my opinion. The instrumental is still good though. Good thing I don't have to count it for the ranking. The art in Perseverance is also just really good. You can definitely tell it's a part of the main week because the art is on another level. The shaders look incredible, Sans' posing looks great, and Girlfriend... Stop stealing from Mario's Madness, bro. That's about it for Perseverance, though. I don't know why I said that like this was a short entry. This is still a really long entry, which honestly shows that Dustin is not a mod to be taken lightly. Number 16, Psychopath. Oh boy, Psychopath. This might be one of the takes that kills me, since I know a lot of people like this song. Get what? And this is why you're my favorite. No, get out of here. So, yeah, please don't kill me for Psychopath being this low. In all honesty, I just don't understand the absolute love this song receives. It is no doubt an incredible song, but nothing in it really sticks out to me as genuine perfection like so many other songs in this mod do. It's weird, since it definitely checks all the boxes. Killer and Kara both sound really good, I appreciate that Girlfriend is here, the rock instrumental fits and is balanced well, and the song definitely has some good melodies. None besides that ending really stick out to me though, which might be the reason I'm not in love with this song. The art is incredible though, the red lighting on literally everything makes for such pleasing art to look at. The sprites are also really well animated, specifically Killer, his poses absolutely kill it. Oh wait, I already used that joke, dang. I like the fake out ending, I guess. It's not really that much of a fake out, but it's cool, I suppose. Dang, I really don't have that much to say about this song, I'm gonna be honest, chat. As I said, I still think it is a really well-made song, but when compared to every other song left, it just doesn't really have that much of an impact on me. So, sorry, this is one of the weakest of the OST, in S tier. Yeah, Dustin is really, really good.
I don't remember asking you. You're gonna die.
What the?
Number 15, Bargain. This directly above Psychopath is definitely going to turn a few heads, I guarantee it. And yes, I deliberately let that opening cinematic play out. I had to, it's just so peak. But Bargain. On the flip side of the last entry, Bargain is definitely a song that is objectively one of the weakest of the OST, but a song that I have all the love in the world for. It definitely sticks out like a sore thumb though. It is almost nothing like any other song in the entire mod, but honestly I think that's a good thing. Among all the incredibly tense and fast-paced songs Dustin has, I think having a more laid-back one helps balance out the OST. Plus, it's just regular old Sans Deltarune. Of course he had to have the song that was just a really fun vibe to listen to. The instrumental is super fun here, using a lot of instruments used in the actual Undertale/Deltarune OST. Plus, there's also quite a few sound effects from Undertale thrown in there for good measure, which helps spice up the instrumental. Sans has yet another good chromatic, and I really like Chris's chromatic here. Since there wasn't really anything to go off of for their vocals, any chromatic would have worked for Chris, but I quite like the style they went for here. Speaking of vocals, there's a unique set here with Sans playing the trombone! Yeah! Kelpart lore drop right here, but I actually play the trombone. Not just for fun either, I can play at a very high level, so seeing it actually represented in an FNF song was so nice to hear. Granted, I think the notes they chose were a little high for a trombone. I almost thought it was a trumpet the first time I heard it, but it's still such a fun way to end the song. The pacing of the song is also just really good. It's pretty consistent, but with a more calm section before the chaotic ending, which I really like. Is it a simple song? Yes. But I think Bargain more than makes up for it by being just a really consistent banger.
Person can change. A little late for that.
Here we are, Broken Reality. This is a song that often has two sides to it. On one side, you have the people that think it's one of the best of the mod, and on the other, there are the ones that think this song has many flaws and is one of the worst. And here I am, quite frankly in the middle of that spectrum. Although, to be honest, this is probably a lot higher than it should be, since I do have some substantial problems with this song, but it is just such a good finale that I couldn't not put it up this high. For the purposes of keeping this entry concise, I'm going to talk about each aspect of the song in order so I don't get too far off track, of course, starting with the opening. This opening. It is so good. If you haven't yet watched the best parts video on my second channel, this is easily my favorite part of the entire song. Such a beautiful opening melody. It's very reminiscent of how the Asgore battle starts in a regular Undertale route. But then, the sudden kick in the instrumental with tons of rock and all the flashbacks, it really does feel like the end of a massive journey, even if it has only been a handful of songs. I also just love Sans' lines here. Obviously, it's just ripped from Undertale for the most part, but the voice actor absolutely killed the emotion in them. Going into the actual song itself, Sans and Boyfriend obviously both still have great vocals. That is pretty much just a constant with the main week. The instrumental keeps that climactic feel that I love, and then there's the melodies. They're really good, with the first half of this phase having Sans have an uneasy calm until having a cutscene into him at full power. They could have very easily just started him at max power, but having him more relaxed to start out adds an extra bit of character and tone that I love. Also, can I just talk about how beautiful Judgment Hall here looks? Not only are the colors gorgeous, but the added lighting from the windows makes this some of the best art in the entire mod. There's not much else to note about this phase, it's just really good finale-type song, which leads us to Papyrus's phase. First off, the transition into this phase is not the best. It's not bad, but the longer pause feels a bit forced. The rest of the phase is really good though, with the instrumental having a much less intense tone and feeling more chaotic. I really like the xylophone specifically. Papyrus sounds decent. Not at its peak in my opinion, not by a long shot, but it's still good and ghostly. But then the song transitions back to Sans. The transition itself is good, but this middle Sans phase is just so... whatever. Again, it's not bad, but I feel like the instrumental just all of a sudden loses so much impact for me for some reason. The one trade-off melody between Sans and Boyfriend sounds good though, and the vocals themselves are still solid. Plus, it's the shortest part of the song, so it's not like it's that awful to listen to. After yet another rough transition, however, Girlfriend's part. I quite like that there is a more emotional section before the all-out finale, but again, that terrible transition into this part kinda kills it for me. Girlfriend sounds good though, probably the best she does in the entire mod, but hey, at least the transition to the ending is good. The ending itself is also pretty good, although I do wish that it felt just a bit more intense. It's got some good melodies, and the instrumental has a little bit of that oomph back from the beginning, but I feel like a little more could have been done to fully close out the song. So, that's the song step by step, but what about the overall issues that I haven't really got to mention? Well, there's not much, but I did want to highlight the rough transitions one more time, mostly because it's actually an issue that I have with a lot of songs going forward, so it's best to fully explain what I mean here. Plus, this is already going to be like the longest entry of the entire video, so why not? So, what I mean by rough transitions are the big pauses that happen in the music in between each major section of the song. Obviously, transitioning to something that sounds different can be challenging, but a lot of times in this mod, the instrumental and vocals will just completely stop for a couple seconds and then pick back up again, which can absolutely kill the pacing of the song. The way I describe it is that in Dustin, each song has a lot of phenomenal moments, but the transitions in between each big moment can feel a little lackluster due to the incredibly janky transitions. And of course, I decided to highlight that in this entry specifically, since Broken Reality is the biggest example of this problem in the entire mod. As for the other major reasons this is as low as it is, the charting, yeah! So, another thing I'll just get out of the way, I don't like playing this mod, like, at all. And that's because most of the charts are just flat out not fun to play. It's not like the charting itself is bad either, but the mod charting almost every song has where the scroll speed just randomly slows down for a second or two and then goes back to normal. It just throws me off entirely and makes the song not fun to play at all. And that in tandem with the main mechanic of Broken Reality, oh boy! So, the chart will randomly switch from upscroll to downscroll, often in the middle of a turn by the way, to mimic Sans being able to throw around a soul in his normal fight. Now, logically this makes sense, but it makes the chart an absolute nightmare to play normally, hence why the footage you're watching right now is me playing through the song with mechanics off. Is it the least fun song to play? No, we'll get to that song next, funnily enough, but having to deal with this mechanic for the better part of 7 minutes is ridiculous. Oh yeah, the runtime. I don't think it's absurd that the song is almost 8 minutes, but the fact that The Uprising and especially You Are end up being less than 5 minutes is a crime in comparison to this. Each section is paced fine enough though, to where I can understand the length. Oh, also I didn't mention it, but the fighting mechanic is cool. I just didn't really have any reason to bring it up. So yeah, I really like that mechanic, it's super fun. All in all, Broken Reality is still a very impressive song at the end of the day. I think it accomplishes what it's trying to do, and it accomplishes it well enough. But thanks to quite a few smaller issues that add up over time, this does unfortunately end up being on the weaker side of the OST. But hey, at least it's not the only finale-esque song to end up right here. Number 13, Vindication. Oh boy, this is gonna hurt some people. While I wouldn't go as far as to say Vindication is one of the fan favorites of the OST, I know a lot of you quite enjoy this song. And I mean, I totally get it, this is an incredible song, if not with a few issues. And I actually want to start with said issues, since I both want to end on a high note for this song, but also really need to explain the two major issues. Firstly, Thero, or T-Hero, I don't know how to pronounce this one's name, nor do I really get the lore behind him. And yeah, that's probably because he was created for the mod itself, but even after reading the wiki page, I'm still a bit confused. But who cares? He sounds awful! Yippee! Yeah, I hate how Thero sounds. At first, I honestly thought it sounded like either atonals or at the very least out of tune, but nope, that's just how he sounds for some reason. It's not great. His vocals just feel completely off compared to the other two, and just make this part sound so jarring compared to the rest of the song. As for the second reason this song is this low, the charting. Oh, don't you boo me! You know I can tank a song for having bad gameplay. And as I alluded to in Broken Reality's entry, this is my least favorite song to play with mechanics. Because, fun fact, I literally cannot beat the song with mechanics on. Now hold on a second, before you go rant in the comments that I'm just having a skill issue, hear me out. Not only do you have to deal with the Gaster Blasters completely draining your HP, not only do you have to deal with the screen glitching halfway through the song, but you have to deal with different hurt notes. Both are ones you're supposed to dodge, and while the pink karma notes aren't that hard to dodge, the dust notes, they look so similar to the regular ones that half the time I mistake one for something I'm supposed to hit, leading to me dying. And it's like that, for the entire song. I've said it before, but terrible mechanics put in a song just to make them more difficult are not fun to me, so yeah, not a very fun song to play. On the flip side, however, everything else is great. This is also, technically, a remake of a song from one of the older versions of Dustin called
Anthropophobia.
Yeah, that. Specifically the remix of that song. And hearing that... Yeah, why was this middle section added again? That's the one part of the song I don't like. I'm kidding, obviously, but the old version honestly ain't that far off from the new version. Dust to Dust, fantastic name, by the way, has a great chromatic, but Boyfriend's unique vocals here honestly are the standout. They sound like a mashup of a ton of other Boyfriend vocals, which instantly helps this song stand out in a great way. The instrumental is also just really intense in the best ways. There's nothing that notable, but it's just really well composed. The song also doesn't lack in variety either, having many different sections such as the flashback, Thero coming in, and of course the Boyfriend solo. The solo is stupidly close to being my favorite turn of the entire mod. Is it just an Undertale melody? Yes, but dang it if it doesn't sound so perfect. The glitchy art with tons of previous dust sands appearing in the background also look amazing, but at this point is the art looking superb that big of a surprise? So yeah, while this entry was definitely filled with some critiques, overall I find Vindication to be an excellent song, if not just a tiny bit overrated. Maybe. I don't know, man, it's still hard to get a general read on Dustin songs for some reason. Number 12, Kinemordo. Well, we are officially at the top tier, at Song 12. How in the what even? Yeah, if you haven't picked up on it by now, Dustin is one of the most well-made FNF mods ever. To be fair though, at least of these next few, the songs aren't incredibly high S+. Starting off, we have Kinemordo. I know a lot of people are probably going to be confused at this being so high, but just hear me out for a second here. Kinemordo is split into two sections, so I'll cover each separately. Papyrus's opening is great. I love the voice actor they got for him, and his lines just scream Papyrus. Boyfriend interrupting him and singing first is also very in character, since Boyfriend is on the genocide route, and often Frisk interrupts dialogue by moving in genocide. The bone trussel melodies in both the instrumental and vocals are really nice to hear, but aren't so overused that it feels lazy. Speaking of, the instrumental has some great elements. Mainly the trumpet. It sticks out a couple of times and sounds incredible. As for Papyrus himself, he has a lot of energy in his vocals, which helps him and Boyfriend play off of each other well. And that main melody, ooh, that main melody. It displays the more bouncy and fun atmosphere of the first half so well, with Papyrus going all out here. Of course, this doesn't last for long, as Sans swoops in and kills Papyrus, completely changing the tone of the song. This transition is done so smoothly that I can't help but love it, with the instrumental changing to use more Sans-like and heavy instruments. Like his brother, Sans' lines work really well for the intro to this half, definitely showing his descent into madness. The melodies in this section act as a sort of reflection of the first half, generally having the same sound to them, just with a much darker tone. This is shown off nicely with that main melody at the very end, where Sans and the instrumental just go off. It is just such a great contrast to the first half, while not feeling jarring in the slightest. And just as the icing on the cake, the song ends on a somber piano playing the Bone Trussel melody. Such a genuinely perfect way to end a song that I genuinely have no complaints with. Musically, at least. Yes, while I consider this to be an S+ tier song because of the music, it takes the bottom spot of this tier because of the mechanics! Oh yeah! The bones covering the notes aren't the worst thing in the world, especially with the hotfix update making them slightly transparent, but the blue mechanic where the notes will just suddenly jump up the chart, it sucks. I found that I can do it after tons of practicing, plus practically memorizing the entire song, but that doesn't excuse it for kind of sucking. The art's great though, and considering that all of this came from one of the demo songs, absolutely masterful work. Kinemorto fans, we stay winning. Number 11, Inopia. I'm starting this entry off with a little story time. So, for those of you who didn't know, Inopia was the only fully teased song before the mod itself dropped, and I remember everyone freaking out over how amazing it sounded. As for me though, I honestly didn't care much for the song. Like, yeah, it was cool seeing Horror Tale represented, and I thought the atmosphere of the song was at least respectable, but it wasn't really a song that I found myself enjoying very much. And so, for even a while after the mod itself was released, Inopia was a song that I honestly found pretty weak in the OST overall. But after forcing myself to listen to this soundtrack over and over and over again for this video, it finally just clicked. And god, this song is incredible. So, like I said at the start, Inopia is a song that handles its atmosphere incredibly well, which being a song based off of Horror Tale, that's a very good thing. The slower parts genuinely sound a little scary and intimidating, Sans' section still having that laid-back nature his character has, but with that underlying feeling that something is definitely a bit off. Papyrus has a ton of just pure maniacal energy, and the ending is pure chaos. Pretty much every trait that I just described perfectly sums up Horror Tale as a universe, so in that regard, Inopia utterly nails it. But that's not to say that it's lacking in any other aspect either. Sans' vocals are super deep in this song, leading to those creepy sections feeling even more disturbing. To go along with this, Papyrus sounds a bit scratchier to reflect his insanity traits, plus the song just has some banging melodies that build on that atmospheric bass really well. With that, I also don't really have much to note with the instrumental, it just helps build that tone the song goes for even more. If anything, I'd say that's the only reason Inopia just barely misses out on the top 10 for me. While it nails everything it does, there's not a single moment in the song where I can go, yes, this is one of the best moments from the entire mod. It's just simply good, which is definitely respectable. Moving over to the art though, because I really need to talk about this, holy. If you thought the song nailed what Horror Tale is, don't even get me started on how perfectly the team nailed the more hand-drawn style of Horror Tale's art. It's all fantastic stuff. I specifically love how rough Sans' outline gets in the ending of the song. Inopia is just such a good song, and one that I can totally see getting higher with time. But in the world of Dustin, there is some tough competition. Oh yeah, also Spooky Mix is good, I guess. I like Bass Inopia better, but they did a good job with making character mix, and it's the best thing to come out of the final hours livestream. Okay, cool, I knew I had to mention it somewhere, but you know, I don't really care about it, so you know. I mentioned it, don't yell at me comments, I did it, I did what you did. Number 10, Heatwave. My name is Peloton, and I am here to say... Okay, for the sake of everyone's ears, I'm just gonna stop that. Starting off our top 10, we have Heatwave. And to make things interesting, let's talk about everything besides the music first. The art here. It is without a doubt some of, if not the best looking in the entire mod besides one song, but we'll get there eventually. Mostly thanks to the shaders. I'm usually not a big fan of warm lighting, but the shaders used here just makes everything look so incredibly beautiful and vibrant. This, along with the monochrome section, and of course the great looking sprites, makes for what I honestly might consider my personal favorite looking song in the mod. As for the mechanics, it's actually pretty interesting this time around. The charting itself is decent, and the unique mechanic of a straight-up Undertale bullet pattern is really nice to see. I will say, I think the hitboxes on some of the attacks are just a little wonky, but it's nothing extreme. Anyways, with that out of the way, music time! I love how oddly chill the tone of the song is. Like, obviously it's still got that more serious tone most of the main week songs have, but Heatwave never changes up the pace of the song once, so it's a vibe and a half to just listen to. This also makes the song pretty loopable, which is always a nice trait for a song to have. Saint and Boyfriend sounds great, yada yada, what about the new stuff? That's right, it's Mettaton Neo time. Ironically enough, Mettaton Neo gets more screen time in this song than he does in the actual Genocide route of Undertale, and his appearance here is perfect. He's got some great melodies, his vocals have that robotic tone while still sounding normal enough, and of course the Metal Crusher / Death by Glamour melody is easily the best part of the song. Is it a cop-out to be my favorite? Yes, but what can I say, why change the peak that is Toby Fox music? That does lead me to my main problem of the song though, and I hear you all in the comments, how can this song have a problem when the last couple had nothing wrong? Well, that's mostly just because I think every other part of this song sounds heavenly, which ultimately means I still enjoy it more than the last few. But back to the problem. The pauses. The first one isn't the worst thing in the world, only being a couple of seconds until the instrumental picks back up, but the second pause? It is nearly 15 seconds without any music, and that's just when the instrumental starts, and the instrumental in the ending is almost non-existent. The ending itself is pretty great, but the multiple pauses throughout the song definitely knock it down a few placements. It ties back into the problem I talked about with Broken Reality too. The whole Dustin has amazing sections, just not great transitions into each part. The rest of the song is great though, and this is only the third main week song we've covered. Holy, the main week is amazing in this mod. Number 9, Overthrown. After looking back at the script, I realized that there hasn't really been a shorter entry since Bargain, which is ridiculous. Luckily, Overthrown is one of those simpler songs, so hopefully this won't take too long to cover. The main reason I adore this song as much as I do is thanks to the instrumental. This is just rock in its purest form, which is always such a great time. Like, there isn't really even anything interesting to note, it is just so incredibly well made that I love the instrumental. To go along with this, the song itself is constantly moving. There's not a single moment of downtime here. The melodies are super powerful, and I love how genuinely intense some of them can feel. Like, why does this song feel more intense than, like, most of the main story of the mod? I will say though, if there's one thing I'm not the absolute biggest fan of, I think Fell Sans' chromatic could be just a little bit better. It's not bad, and the song uses it fantastically, but compared to how amazing pretty much every other Sans sounds in this mod, it does feel a little scratchy and off. And yes, I know it should sound different since this is Underfell, but I just don't think it sounds the absolute best. Boyfriend sounds amazing though, and in tandem with those intense melodies, ooh, it's so good. You know what else is good? A $7,000 choir, that's what. Yes, as revealed in the final hour stream, the choir heard in the middle of Overthrown is a professional choir that the team paid actual money for, and you can tell. It sounds so majestic here, and it's nice to see some faces that are present literally nowhere else in the mod. After this amazing section, however, the song basically just goes back to what the beginning does, which is certainly not a bad thing. One note isn't exactly how I would describe it, since I love the consistent tone the song goes for, but in comparison to some of the next songs that do a lot to change things up, just adding a choir does make Overthrown feel the tiniest bit tame. Still, Overthrown is simple rock at its finest, and a dang good song at that. As for the mechanic, it's actually pretty good this time around. Just your simple bad note you have to dodge, it's not a hard concept to grasp, and since you can actually see it this time, it's a fun mechanic. So yeah, overall, Overthrown is just pretty much a perfect song, besides Sans just having a decent chromatic, but just ignore that fact. But I feel like I'm forgetting to talk about something. Oh yeah? And what might that be? Oh no. Number 8, Genocides. Yeah, Genocides is really freaking good. The only problem I have with this one is just... why? Why did they feel the need to go so hard on a song based off of one of the stupidest memes ever created by this community? The world may never get the answers to these questions, but who cares, Genocides is still peak. To be honest, due to the aesthetics, the charm, and the fact that Sans and Papyrus' chromatics here are sampled from their actual in-game voices this time, something about this song just reminds me of Variety Vault, honestly. Definitely a weird comparison to make, I know, but you can see the similarities between this and Sock, right? If there was one thing that really sticks out in this song to me, it would have to be the melodies. They're just so dang catchy! The vocals are so satisfying to listen to since the melodies of this song are really fast-paced, but each note just flows into the next beautifully. Plus, this is probably the best use of Undertale melodies in the entire mod, since they're used with way more subtlety than in most of the OST. I know this might sound like a hot take to make, but I honestly might prefer the first half of the song to the second. They're both pretty equal in my eyes, but the first half uses some of the melodies with more emotion, I guess? I don't know if that's the best word to describe this, but Frisk's vocals just have more impact to me than Papyrus's do. Papyrus definitely has more energy though. Every time I hear the second half of the song, it just feels like 13 shots of espresso have been injected into my veins. His art is also really entertaining. The whole song has a pixel style similar to Undertale, but the text dialogue sprites are really what make the song. Sans looks as dumb as ever, and Papyrus, how does one even describe this masterpiece of art? That, along with the dumb lines ripped from the memes throughout the song, just make for one of the funniest songs I've heard in a while, which is what Genocides is, honestly. Just a really fun time. It's still got that intense nature that most of the OST does, but a serious tone on such a dumb concept gives this an extra boost in my opinion, raising it to the number 8 spot. Number 7, Avulsion. Dude, this opening instrumental is sick! Which, to be fair, it's literally just an intense version of Core, but Core is my favorite song in the Undertale OST, so no duh, I'm really gonna like it. Which, on that topic, the fact that only one song in this mod takes place in Core is such a missed opportunity. It is an amazing area that is completely skipped in the main story mode. Like Flowey! Why isn't Flowey in a song? Come on, Dustin, give the people what they want! We want Flowey! We want Flowey in a song! We want him! Flowey! Wait, what was I talking about again? Oh right, Avulsion! This is in fact a very good song. The first half shows that more manic side of Dust Sans really well, with the melodies being fast and crazy while the intensity is dialed up to 11. I love how menacing Sans' sprites look in this song, the entire background being much darker than previous songs already gives the song a more serious look, but Sans just being completely covered in shadow gives off a very eerie look. The instrumental in this song is fantastic as well. I love the way it backs off at certain points to really bring out the melodies themselves, but can just kick right back in almost immediately. But then, after a short pause, which I actually like... Okay, stop the transition for a second. What was all that complaining earlier about big pauses in songs, but then Avulsion gets away for free? Well, I feel like the dramatic pause in the middle of the song actually works in the context of Avulsion, and the fact that it leads into a drastically different sounding section than the first half makes it at least a little more warranted than, say, Heatwave's stupidly long pauses. Speaking of, the second half. Oh, this second half. It goes for a much more atmospheric and dramatic tone, with the instrumental being way more minimalist and the vocal melodies being much slower. It's such a stark contrast from the first half, but it still conveys that intense feeling, just in a much different way. But then, the lyrics. By how high up this song is on the list, you can bet that I absolutely adore these lyrics. The Papyrus voice actor did such a good job in portraying the pure emotion in Papyrus' voice, while still making it feel like Papyrus is singing. And for once, these lyrics actually make sense. A lot of times, added lyrics in FNF songs can feel forced because the lyrics themselves make next to no sense, but Papyrus' lines make complete sense in context, and because of that are genuinely so powerful. I also love the added detail that his sprites here are above the UI element, like the health bar and notes. It really makes it feel like he's talking to us, the player, rather than merely talking to Boyfriend. Now, that's not to say the rest of the song takes a backseat here. Rather than feeling like an afterthought, the vocals and instrumental here just add to Papyrus' powerful lyrics, going back to what I said about that atmospheric feeling this second half has. This part just stands out in my mind as just simply spectacular. But we can't have nice things, can we, Final Hours stream? Yeah, they changed the instrumental a bit in the Papyrus section. This does not, in fact, Mamma the Mia. It's not bad, but I don't think it works as well as the original does, with some weird pauses that try to help bring out the melodies more, but I don't think the song needed that at all in the first place, so it just ends up being more confusing than anything. Disregarding that version though, since it doesn't really affect the ranking, the ending is pretty good. I think it's a little jarring of a tone shift, but it works. Plus, I really like the mechanic at the end. Spamming the spacebar is always fun for me, and failing it actually leads to a unique ending, so that's cool. So, yeah, Evulsion's pretty cool, huh? I'm running out of ways to end segments like this. Normally there are only 1 or 2 songs in a mod that I don't really have any issues with, but so far there have been like 5. This is becoming a problem, which, speaking of, these next 6. I'll be honest, the order of these next 6 were very hard to nail down. Each and every one deserves the top spot in my eyes, so I really had to get critical and nitpicky in order to figure out their placements. So, with that being said... Number 6, Thermal Shock. Ooh, this hurts. This hurts so much. Putting a song like Thermal Shock this low, and I say this low a little sarcastically since it is still 6th, is crazy. This song is just a straight banger from top to bottom. Ironically enough, the 2 songs that open with a core melody are back-to-back on the list. And I mean, what can I say? I like core a lot. Anyways, Kara. I'm just starting straight off with Kara because they probably have my favorite chromatic in the entire mod in this song. Something about it just has this energy behind it that feels like they're just so smug about the whole song, just teasing Papyrus the whole time. Maybe that's just because their smug smile is the most powerful thing ever, but I digress. In addition, Swap Papyrus is back, and he sounds much better here than he did in Homicide. They both add up to making this song have some of the strongest vocals in the entire mod, and that's not even mentioning the fact that Sans also makes an appearance later on and sounds great. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to the start of the song, the melodies here are oddly really fast. Like, there are a lot of notes at once, but I think that makes the song really fun to both listen and play chart-wise. There are also quite a few turns that stand out to me, mainly the back and forth with the random Japanese text. Being completely honest, I don't know what it translates to, nor do I really care, but that part is great. Until it is almost immediately overthrown by the flashback scene. The emotion here is impeccable. I love that the song slows down just a tiny bit, and the devs adding that little pause in between Papyrus' 2 turns where the camera pans over to where Sans should be, that is a genius move. And then Sans shows up. His entrance screen is super charming, and then you know what time it is! That's right, it's swing, baby, let's go! You always know I love me some good swing, so yeah, this part is my favorite of the whole song. Plus, Sans also sounds better than he did in Homicide, so that's nice. The ending is just sheer intensity, the way it's built up to after a well-done fake-out, leading to the last couple of turns just being an all-out back and forth between Papyrus and Kara. It's so good! I'm just practically speechless at this song. It pretty much nails everything. But as I said, I have to get really picky with these last 6 songs, and I do feel like there are certain points where the instrumental could do just a bit more here. Is it perfectly fine the way it is? Oh, absolutely, and most of the time I love it to death, but specifically the beginning could have had just a bit stronger of an intro in my opinion. But don't just take my word for it, take it from our local resident thermal shock expert, Yallettter. That's right, I'm doing a guest segment that I actually have control over! No getting interrupted or exploded this time. Wait, no, Lilo, no!
No matter where he has this, if it's not second, it's not high enough. Howdy, I'm Yallettter from the hit YouTube channel Yallettter, and I'm here to talk about Thermal Shock. You're not doing the Uprising? Yeah, no, because I'm scared of where he has the Uprising. So, Thermal Shock to me is definitely one of my favorite FNF songs in the past year by far, and one of my all-time favorites in general. This song is genuinely awesome. To start out with, I gotta say, ever since my video on this, which you should totally watch if you haven't by the way, and don't give me more feedback in that comment section, I'm begging, this has risen from 4th to 2nd, and my god, I don't think it deserves it enough. The stuff that this song does is truly superb. The instrumental is absolutely phenomenal. The way it can go from this hard rock song into this more melancholic feeling with this little part right here with the piano in Japanese, it's genuinely kind of beautiful. It has such a surreal feeling to it that I've never seen in an FNF song before, and it really makes this one stand out in one of the best ways possible. The flashback scene here is incredible. Like, this is how you do a flashback. Kind of like how Homicide V1 did it. But it's a lot better than that, in my opinion. The sorrowful feeling of this with the regret you can feel through with Papyrus' voice and the instrumental playing the main chorus, the Homicide in the background, it's so good. And the emotion here, present here, is genuinely insane. Those 2 parts back to back are some of my favorite parts of the entire mod by far. I gotta say, okay, so the chromatics in the song are pretty good. Sans sounds good, his chromatic is great, Papyrus's chromatic is awesome as well, but Kara in this song, oh my god, Kara in this song sounds phenomenal. It's so clicky and maniacal sounding, I love it, and she sounds perfect, it fits them perfectly. They, them, whatever, it's my bad. And gotta say, all the melodies in the song are hits too. Like, they all have such amazing intensity and emotion to them. It's so well done. I'm saying if I had one issue with the song, I'm not a fan of about how acapado or whatever it is some of the vocals in the song are, but it's not a huge issue at all. It works with the chromatics perfectly fine. And then everything goes downhill where, like, in the song, like, event-wise, when they fall down this pit here. I haven't seen Underswap, or, like, Dust Swap or whatever, so forgive me for not knowing what this place is, but this final bit is actually phenomenal. The intensity here is at its peak in the entire mod, and it is absolutely incredible. You can feel the panic in Papyrus's voice and the determination in Kara's throughout the entirety of this final segment, as it only gets higher and higher in the, like, panickiness and the determination in both of them. It's amazing. And then we get what I consider to be my favorite part of any FNF song. This right here. The another medium motif here while Kara pops off and while they trade, while the instrumental is at its absolute best point with the trumpets and hard drums. God, it's so good! I don't understand how someone could not like this song. It is genuinely beautiful. Now with that said, thank you Kelpart for letting me on, but I gotta go get back to whatever I'm doing at this time. So, yeah, Thermal Shock's a masterpiece. Easily, one of the best FNF songs of all time for sure.
Yep, this one hurts a lot too. Sure, it made it to the top 5, but I was not expecting UR to end up this low on the list, and to be behind 2 more songs from the main week. But since I'm being nitpicky, I do have some genuine issues with this one. But starting with why this song is so great, the emotion. God, the emotion. The intro into the song is fantastic. The player has an amazing chromatic, basically just being a variation of Boyfriend's chromatic, but changed enough to be distinct. And one of the changes is just feeling like there's some unbridled emotion behind these vocals, man. It sounds heavenly. That in tandem with the extremely impactful instrumental, and this song just hits really hard. Also, just so you can all make fun of me, it took me up until a couple weeks ago to realize that the UR in the title is actually the end of the statement the player says at the start of the song. Yes, I'm an idiot, make fun of me here for it, please. But back to the song, this opening is just so strong. Again, I know it's kind of a cop-out to make the very beginning of the song be my favorite part, but like, man, I know the middle section's great and all, and it might honestly still be my favorite, but this beginning is just so perfect. But then, Papyrus is here? Why is he here? I mean, in all fairness, this section does sound incredible. I've always loved Papyrus's chromatic, and the instrumental changing up to be that more Undertale-y vibe is nice. But just, why? I'll get back to why this bothers me later, since now we get to cover one of the best moments in the entire mod. The second phase of the player versus boyfriend is just simple perfection. The emotion comes through in full force, everything sounds great, the art is at its peak here, and the melodies. Not only did they sneak in the freedom motif from Deltarune, but the original melodies just sound so amazing. It's like the player is genuinely going all out to regain control of boyfriend. I love it so much. The end screen is a nice reference, and then Sans shows up! Sans Undertale, I love you! Yeah, admittedly, while this is still a really good part, I don't like the janky pause before this section. It's that thing again where the mod likes doing the pauses instead of good transitions, although it is much less egregious here than the few other times I've talked about it in this video. Sans' part itself is just a really fun way to end the song too. It's so energetic, yet while it feels like Sans is giving it his all, he also has that more laid-back nature that has been lacking all throughout the main week. Also Megalovania. I have almost gone the entire video without mentioning it, but this mod really likes Megalovania, which, to be fair, it is a mod primarily based off of a genocide route featuring Sans, but still. All in all, it's a great way to end the song that is a perfect length. That's a perfect length. That's a perfect length! Stop, what are you doing? Don't ruin this for me! Yeah, I don't like this version. The new instrumental during the freedom motif is fine. I think it kills the pacing a tiny bit, but it adds a lot more emotion, which is a fair trade-off. But the ending? I love the concept, but the way it feels so sloppily added, it's just one turn where the player goes all out, using tons of different vocals, and while in theory it's really cool, it just does not fit with the rest of the ending at all. And the final note just leaves this song on kind of an awkward pitch to me, so yeah, the final hour version of the song is not great. But time for just a tiny bit of an explanation as to why this is fourth. So, The Way I See You Are is very similar to, and hear me out before you call this a reach, Identity Crisis from Versus Imposter. The song is incredible. I love how it sounds, I love how it looks, the charting is fun, I love everything about it. However, I really wish they did just a little bit more with this song. Going back to what I said in Broken Reality, the fact that it gets to be an almost 8-minute song while this isn't even 5 is an absolute crime. And why do I think this song needs more, you ask? Well, it's all thanks to this dumb skeleton. Papyrus is in this mod a lot, almost as much as Sans is, but in this song, I only really see two ways to view his inclusion. The first is that he was shoehorned in here because why not, you know? Granted, he clearly has some connection with the player thanks to his lyrics and evulsion, but that doesn't really explain why him and only him get to be here. But the second way to view his inclusion is what I like to think should have happened. The fact that he's a lost soul here feels like he should really mean something. So I propose the idea that at least Undyne and Metaton were supposed to appear in this song somehow as lost souls too. I think it would not only extend the song to a more deserved length, but it could feel so natural of an inclusion since Papyrus is already here. Plus, that would really just make it feel like a big finale song for the mod with everyone coming back. And I'm sure I'm gonna get a million comments explaining why Papyrus is specifically here, but know that I do adore this song still. I know this sounds like me criticizing the song a lot, and while I do find Papyrus' inclusion weird, this is basically just me dreaming of what my perfect UR would look like. Plus, I don't want to rant too incredibly long, so let's just move on to number 4. Number 4, The Uprising. I didn't think that this song would hold on to top 5. Heck, until the last stretch of finalizing the list, it very much wasn't in the top 5. But The Uprising is truly a special song. I think we all know what makes this song as phenomenal as it is, so I'm gonna wait until the end of the segment to go in depth with that. So instead, let's start with the vocals. Tankman is here, and I really do love his base game chromatic, so I'm glad it's still pretty much the same here. Him getting the occasional line thrown in musically is also really nice too, although I really do wish that mods would use more original lines from the Tankman series instead of just reusing the same one used in Stress. On the other hand, Boyfriend is really dynamic sounding, similarly to how he sounded in Vindication. Although here, he's pitched down ever so slightly, and as I've said before, I love Boyfriend vocals that sound like that. Oh yeah, Pico is here too. Honestly, he's probably the weakest of the three for me, but that's not saying much since I still adore how he sounds. There's not much to mention with him, but some of his melodies, like his back and forth with both Boyfriend and Tankman, make for some really memorable sections. Speaking of the melodies, they are top-notch in this song. The Uprising doesn't quite have the same level of finale sounding as either Broken Reality or You Are, but it still feels like the final stand. What makes it unique, though, is that it feels like Tankman's final stand, not Boyfriend's, which is such a different take that most mods don't get the opportunity to try. And that main chorus, ooh, it's so good! Tankman and Boyfriend sound heavenly, and the fact that it's used in both keys is great. Oh yeah, there's a key change in this song, and I haven't really called most of those out in this video, but this one specifically is done so smoothly that I love it to pieces. It honestly might be up there with Faz News and Day Out as some of my favorite key changes in FNF. Also, let me just quickly take a second to appreciate this art, because my god. The lighting is just gorgeous. Normally, like I said with Heatwave, I'm not the biggest fan of a warm color scheme, but it works wonders in this song. Also, the chart doesn't really have any stupid shenanigans going on, so I can actually play it perfectly normal. Okay, fine, I've stalled long enough. You all know why this song is where it is. The instrumental. It's just straight up the best thing ever. I can say in full confidence that this is at bare minimum top 3 FNF instrumentals of all time. The way every single instrument is used to its maximum capacity, it's just so beautiful. Obviously, the rock aspect gets the main focus, since the dead Tankmen represent them, and lord they go hard. That last repeat of the chorus where the lead guitar just completely shreds goes so ungodly hard, and the guitar and heavy drums throughout the rest of the song are just as strong. And that's not to say there aren't other aspects of the instrumental that go crazy, because there definitely are. Specifically the piano during the calmer sections. It's completely unexpected, but helps make that otherwise odd section stand out as amazing. If I'm being honest, the instrumental is just as enjoyable to listen to on its own as it is with the vocals. The Uprising is just a simply incredible song that, with time, I could very well see making its way into the top 3. However, speaking of... the top 3 of this mod are practically tied, and I mean that. I think every aspect of these top 3 are absolutely stunning, so choosing a favorite was stupidly hard. However, out of the 3, I do have a minor issue with one of them. One tiny mistake that makes this one slightly lower than the other 2. And it's tragic too, because I've always loved this one to death. But, even with a heavy heart, the show must go on. Okay, so like, this song is the fan favorite for a reason. For the longest time, it was my favorite too, and technically sort of still is, like I said, they're practically tied. However, since I've already done a decently beefy entry on this song in Yalletter's Dustin ranking, I'll try not to paraphrase myself. The opening being the intro to Backbone from Normal Disbelief, it's already a melody that I love, and seeing it used here works so well. The animation at the start too. While I don't think the song has the highest quality art in comparison to some of the others from the mod, it makes up for it in just sheer awesomeness. Papyrus's vocals sound great in the Disbelief week, really representing that manic style of his so perfectly. He just goes absolutely insane during this song, having some incredibly fast-paced and chaotic melodies. Boyfriend also sounds great, although there isn't nearly as much to talk about with him. He hits some amazing high notes though, which help add that atmosphere around the song that I love so much. See, the song goes for this rock concert vibe, and while there aren't many to compare it to, this is the best take on a song like that in the community for me. The vocals go crazy like I talked about, the melodies are all heavenly sounding, and the instrumental? Obviously the rock is center stage, and it goes hard, but other elements like the constant cheers from the crowd and the overall echo on everything helps build that atmosphere that I absolutely adore. While it's easy to point out the overall peaks of this song, each section also works together really well. Papyrus's opening is fantastic, I love that Sans gets his time to shine, heck, we even get some Undyne thrown in there like the actual Disbelief. I will say though, the transitions into a couple of these sections can be a little bit rough. It's the tiny nitpick that puts this one in third for me actually, but I think that specifically the transition into Sans' phase could have been handled a little better. Undyne and the rock finale parts are a little janky too, but Bone Travaganza is inherently a chaotic song, so those smaller transitions being a little jarring actually works well enough. Speaking of, that rock finale is sublime. Boyfriend just completely shredding that guitar makes for what is almost my favorite part in the entire mod, only being beat out by something in one of the next 2 songs. But it's such a perfect ending to such a perfect song. I could go on and on rambling about every little thing in this song. Heck, I haven't even mentioned the fantastic visuals, and for once an actually good and fun to play chart. But considering this is the second time I've talked about this song in a ranking video before, and most definitely not the last, wink wink, I think I'll just leave it at that. Seriously though, Bone Travaganza is so freaking good, and I can definitely understand why it's the fan favorite. With that said though, 2 remain. 2 that, funnily enough, both take place in Waterfall. What's next? Well, let's find out. Number 2, Cornered. Oh, how badly I wanted to put this one in first. Because, up until recently, I thought that this was not only the most underrated song of Dustin, but one of the most underrated songs in the entire community. Because Cornered is just... wow. Where do I even begin with this one? I guess the vocals? Sure, why not? Sans and Boyfriend both sound great, but it's the main week, that's a constant. This is probably my favorite appearance of Ghost Papyrus outside of his lyrics and Evulsion though, so that's pretty fun. But I'll get back to that when I talk about the individual sections. For now, it's Undyne's time to shine. Her voice is genuinely just so beautiful. It's a lot like Papyrus's, where it doesn't sound anything like her actual in-game dialogue, but more like what she would sound like if she had a real voice, and I love it. Again, it's just so majestic in this song, which leads to the slower parts like the ending being really pretty to listen to. That's not to say the chromatic doesn't work with the more intense sections this song has, because trust me, it does. But what really helps this song stand out is how each character plays off of each other. All three can just trade off the melody constantly and keep the flow of each turn steady, and I just love it so much. That's another reason this song is as high as it is, the constant flow and pace. So many times in this video, you've heard me complain about how there are these awkward pauses in each song, which leads to the pacing feeling kinda janky at times. But I'm happy to report that none of that jank is present in Cornered. Again, that's why I like Papyrus' section so much. Unlike in songs like Broken Reality, where there'll just be a big pause before a new opponent is shown, this song just leads straight into the new section smoothly, which is exactly what I wanted from most of these songs. And that's not just in the vocals department either, because the instrumental is gorgeous. Obviously, it has that intensity a battle like this should have, with the typical great use of rock guitar and drums, but it also uses some instruments that represent the more calm nature of Waterfall, like chimes and bells. There's also some strings used in the more emotional sections of the song that just sound gorgeous. It really helps bring out that more somber tone a few turns have. And lastly, there are the melodies. The opening of the song has a lot of chaotic jumps back and forth between the three characters that I think work really well to set the tone of the song. And yes, I suppose I should finally mention the last Final Hours version of a song, since this one was changed only really in the opening. I don't think it's a bad take on it, being more emotional, but it doesn't flow as well into the rest of the song as the original does, so in my opinion the OG is still better. Speaking of, the next part has much stronger and less chaotic melodies where the song chills out for a second. It's probably the weakest part of the song for me, since nothing really stands out here, but everything I've talked about previously in the entry still stands true here, so it's still a really good part. I've already talked about why I like Papyrus' section twice, you don't need more details than that. The second normal section between the trio is a lot like the first, but I think the melodies themselves are just a bit stronger here. But who cares, because then after Boyfriend does a sneaky hit against Undyne, the song transitions into a really somber section between Undyne and Boyfriend where a battle against a true hero melody starts playing. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is the use of Undyne's melodies from Undertale in this song. I think they're worked in really well throughout the song, and it helps that her songs are some of my favorite from the entire Undertale OST. So yeah, obviously the references to them are going to be great here too. But then Undyne transforms, and yeah, this is just the best part of the entire mod, so let's go into detail about it, shall we? First of all, obligatory mention of Sans' pose here. Like, it's the meme pose from this mod. I have to mention it. But beyond that, Undyne's entrance here is so strong. Her vocals don't change in the slightest, but something about it just feels more powerful here. She also just gets this entire section to be kind of a solo for herself, since Boyfriend and Sans are too busy with their back and forths. Yeah, I kinda lied when I said Boyfriend and Sans didn't really do anything interesting in this song, because the way it really does feel like they're fighting each other while ignoring Undyne is such a cool way to represent their arcs. Especially the final turn of this section, they're in a duet with each other while Undyne is just practically a set of backing vocals. I'm pretty sure if you took out Undyne from this section, the song would still be a fully complete FNF song, which just goes to show the level of detail the Dustin team went to add details into these songs. Plus, the melodies themselves are heavenly to listen to, easily some of, if not the best in the entire mod. Finally, the song ends on a somber note, similarly to Kinemorto if its ending had vocals. And I think this was the best possible way to end the song, since Undyne's defeat in the genocide route is a genuinely sad death, and definitely a turning point in that route, and Cornered definitely reflects that feeling perfectly. Not to mention the sneaky use of It's Raining Somewhere Else. Like, that melody is hardly used in this mod, which is criminal considering how amazing that song is. So, yeah, Cornered is one of the best FNF songs, alright, and I haven't even mentioned the best part yet! Okay, best part might be a bit of a stretch, but this song does feature the only, and I mean only mechanic of the entire mod that is incredibly fun, used throughout the song, balanced well, and doesn't have any jank to it. To mimic Undyne's fight, there are yellow arrows that switch which track they are on halfway through the chart. It's something that definitely tests your reflexes, but in a way that is both fair in the sense that you don't have to have split-second reaction speeds, and fair in the sense that missing the note doesn't harm you more than missing a regular note, so you don't just instantly die. A super fun mechanic, really cementing that Cornered is one of the best of the mod, hands down. But it's not quite first. And if you've been paying attention, you know what song is next. And it's definitely something I don't think anyone was expecting. So, without further ado... Number 1, Haunted. I'm not going to ramble about this song for as long as some of the other entries in this video, for a couple reasons. One is because this video is just becoming way too long at this point, and I wasn't expecting it to be as long as it's turned out to be, but more importantly, I cannot put into words how absolutely stunning Haunted is as a song. And even if I could find the words, we would probably be here for hours, because, man. I'll start with the visuals this time around. I haven't been mentioning them as much throughout the video, since, to be honest, every song visually in this mod is just top-notch, so I don't really have much to note, but the visuals in Haunted. Dude. The animation is incredibly smooth, the lighting of Waterfall makes everything pop so gorgeously, and the art direction itself? The way this song shows off its story in more of a comic book style, it's definitely not something you would expect from a mod like this, but it makes for something absolutely beautiful. These are my favorite visuals in FNF. That's right, not Dustin, FNF. I cannot get enough of these visuals. The chart too. It's not that interesting of a chart, since the song itself is very slow-paced compared to almost everything else in the OST, but each turn is still super fun to play. But I think that's enough stalling. Time to, at the very least, try to explain why this is the best song of the mod for me. Starting with the easy stuff, Papyrus's vocals. Firstly, the voice actor of Dust Belief Papyrus absolutely nailed the lines sprinkled throughout the song. They sound so aggressive, but in a more toned-down nature that fits the overall tone of the song. And this is carried over into the actual chromatic. I think the Dust Belief Week perfectly shows the personality of Dust Belief Papyrus in just 2 songs. While Bone Travaganza showed his pure chaos and insanity, Haunted shows the genuinely twisted and broken side of him that really makes me love this take on the Dustin format. In this story, Papyrus has completely lost it, and only wants to make Boyfriend suffer. Not kill him, mind you, just make him be in as much pain as possible so he'll stop the genocide. And that right there, that's why I love Haunted. The just pure, raw emotion in it. I could go on and on about how each vocal melody sounds perfect, the use of some Undertale melodies like Bone Trussel, Waterfall, etc., and the instrumental itself using some of the prettiest instruments while still having that tense feeling that this mod so very much loves. But the emotion is really what puts Haunted so far above everything else. I'm not one to love a song just purely off the way it's able to tell a story, and to be fair, everything I just listed in that short list is completely true. Every aspect from a musical standpoint is still superb here, but most if not all of the songs in top tier for this mod do that. What Haunted does differently is just show that story through both the music and the art in such a way that genuinely left me stunned the first time I played this. And yes, to everyone who interacts with me regularly, I did lie and put Haunted not in first whenever I would make a tier list on the mod, half because I wasn't sure if it was in first quite yet, but half because I didn't want to spoil my thoughts on the song until I could truly explain it in a video format. But back to the emotion, the entire song could honestly just be described as a slow build-up, with each section slowly getting more and more intense. From the beginning between Boyfriend and Papyrus, to the part that uses so many Undertale melodies, and then the introduction of Sans. I love his inclusion here. Not only do his lower notes really bring out that more tense feeling, but the way he pairs with Papyrus both musically and visually, it again just exemplifies that storytelling aspect so well. And then the final section, where all that build-up finally pays off. The intensity is high, Papyrus finally loses it with some genuinely chilling high notes, and the repeat of the opening melody. I know I've said it in entries like Paranoia before, but songs that end on the same melody they open with always tend to be some of my favorites, and the way Haunted does it might just be the best I've seen yet. And then Boyfriend ran away. Those words right there are just the absolutely perfect way to end a genuinely perfect song. I know this might not have been the best entry I've ever written, heck, it might not even be that good, but as I said at the beginning, Haunted is not a song that I can describe well with words, mostly just because what I truly adore about it is the emotional impact, which is definitely closer to subjectivity than objectivity. But it's true. Haunted is just a magical song that absolutely deserves first. And that's all of Dustin. I'm so glad I was able to get this video out to you all, and in a timely manner for once too. Here's the tier list. Obviously, Dustin is an absolutely fantastic mod with some amazing songs, so if you somehow haven't, please go check out the mod. Speaking of checking out stuff, I'd again like to shout out all my fellow rankers that have been covering Dustin recently. I'm not one for tracing trends, but without seeing all of them, I probably wouldn't have pushed a Dustin rank in this fast, so if you haven't already, please go watch their rankings. Specific shoutouts to both Yallettter and AUI though. Yallettter because obviously she made a guest appearance in Thermal Shock, but also AUI because they were actually supposed to make a guest appearance in Evulsion, but the segment was already too long, so they had to be cut, unfortunately. Sorry AUI, please take this consolation shoutout as reparations. Beyond that though, I don't really have much news to share with you all. I said what I wanted to say in the Pippi Apocalypse ranking, so if you did in fact enjoy this video, why not subscribe? It's free, and Dustins will just kinda kill you if you don't, so really if you think about it, I'm doing you all a favor. Make sure to like, comment, turn on notifications, all the good stuff. And of course, links to my socials and the Discord server are always in the description below. But, with that being said, I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and...